embarrass me like this. I am utterly humiliated. Don't you dare walk away from me.
I never thought a single moment could shatter 15 years of marriage, ambition, and sacrifice. But there I was, standing in a grand ballroom, surrounded by the city's most powerful people, watching my wife laugh at me. To her, I was just an inconvenience she was finally tired of hiding. The event was supposed to be a celebration, the company's anniversary gala. It was packed with investors, executives, and social elites. I had worked tirelessly for years to earn my spot in that room, often staying up past midnight thinking I was building something real, not just for my career, but for us. That night, everything I thought I'd built crumbled. My wife stood near the bar, a champagne flute in her hand. Her friends gathered around her. I could hear her voice cut through the music, sharp and amused. She was joking about how some people are only successful because they married into the right family. Then her eyes met mine across the room, and she smirked. Her friends erupted in laughter. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't subtle. It was deliberate. Something inside me just snapped. I felt exposed, smaller than I had ever felt in my life. All the years of silent compromises, of swallowing insults and forcing smiles, they all came rushing back. I realized this wasn't new. This was just the first time she felt bold enough to humiliate me in public. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just turned and walked away. I left the ballroom, left the building, and stood alone under the city lights. The air felt cleaner, fresher. That was the moment I chose myself. The days that followed were brutal. It was a whirlwind of lawyers, angry phone calls, and accusations. My wife painted a picture of herself as the victim, calling me insecure, unstable, and ungrateful. Friends we'd shared for years vanished overnight. The invitations stopped coming. Doors that were once wide open were now firmly shut. For a while, I questioned everything. I wondered if leaving was a huge mistake. But then something unexpected happened in the silence that followed. Free from the constant pressure to prove my worth to her, I started to remember who I was before I became her accessory. I found a modest apartment. It had none of the luxury I was used to, but it was filled with peace. I started reaching out to old colleagues, people who respected my work, not my last name or my social connections. Slowly, piece by piece, I began to rebuild my life from the ground up. I took a job at a smaller firm. It came with less prestige, a smaller paycheck, but it offered something priceless, complete autonomy. For the first time in what felt like forever, my ideas mattered. My voice was heard. I mattered. Months later, I heard news that the company I had poured so much of my life into was struggling. Mismanagement, internal conflicts, a total loss of trust. The very people who had laughed at me that night were now desperately trying to keep the ship from sinking. I didn't feel any satisfaction from their failure, just a sense of clarity. So, when they asked me to come back as a consultant, I didn't hesitate. I wasn't doing it for revenge or for validation. I was doing it to finish what I had started all those years ago, but this time it would be on my terms. The first meeting with my ex-wife was tense. She looked tired. Her usual confidence cracked by the harsh reality of the situation. She didn't apologize. There was just this heavy, regretful silence between us, but I didn't need her apology anymore. I had already moved on. Being back at work, I remembered why I loved what I did. I wasn't chasing anyone's approval. I wasn't trying to squeeze myself into a world that wanted me to be small. I led with fairness, with transparency, and with discipline. People noticed. Trust started to grow again, and stability followed. Years passed. Life settled into a new rhythm, quieter but so much stronger. I found happiness in the simple things, in routine, in genuine friendships that didn't require a performance. Every now and then I'd remember that night, the laughter, the champagne, the sting of public humiliation, but it didn't hurt anymore. Instead, it reminded me of the moment I finally stopped betraying myself. Looking back, I understand now that the humiliation wasn't my downfall, it was my awakening. Losing respect in someone else's eyes forced me to find it within my own. And that, more than any success or status, is what truly changed everything. Thanks for watching.